Welcome to Fat Cat Sports. I'm Jake, and this is my cat Bauer, and today we're going to talk to you about the Tavares signing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So what I decided to do is I decided to make my lineup as you can see. So my first line, I have Zach Hyman, Austin Matthews, and William Nylander. I have this line because this line has done great for Babcock in the past season and a half, and I don't think there's any way that he breaks them up. My second line, I have Marleau, Tavares, and Marner. Marleau and Marner did a great job in the latter half of the regular season last season and also did great in the playoffs together, and I think Tavares could really roll with them nicely. Third line, I have Anders Johnson, Kadri, and Brown. Johnson played great with Kadri in the playoffs, Brown played great with Kadri in the playoffs, and I think this line could be one of the most important on the Leafs, because not only can they create offense for themselves, but they can also work on shutting down other teams' best players. Fourth line, I have Josh Leivo, Frederick Gauthier, and Kapanen. Kapanen had a great postseason with the Leafs. Gauthier has won on every level, good penalty killer, great face-off guy, and Josh Leivo, he's been up and down the Leafs for the past couple seasons, and I think this is the year that he breaks into the lineup. D, first pair, I got Riley and Zaitsev. I think this is going to be a pair for the Leafs in the future, so I think there's no reason that Babcock doesn't start with this pairing this season. Second pairing, I have Dermott and Hainsey. I could see it being either Dermott or Gardner, but it's got to be an offensive defenseman to play with Hainsey and a defensive defenseman. It probably will be Gardner because that was the pair last season, but it could be Dermott. The other Ds I have is Justin Hall, who had a great, when he got called up, he scored 2 goals in 2 games, and then he was the best D on the way to a Calder Cup championship for the Marlies. The other 2 D I have is Rosen and Borgman. Both had little stints in the NHL last season. Rosen, great two-way D. And Borgman, a big body, and he's not afraid to use it. Great guy to call up as your 7th D. My 3 goalies, I have Frederik Andersen, self-explanatory. Had a great season with the Leafs. Nothing bad to say about him. He had a bunch of games with 40-plus shots that the Leafs got at least a point from. McElhinney was a very capable backup this season. When he had in 18 games played, he had 11 wins, 5 losses, and 2 overtime losses. And I also have Garrett Sparks, who was one of the best, if not the best goalie in the American League this year on the Calder Cup winners. I think it'll be McElhinney because McElhinney has 1 year left on his contract at $850,000, and Sparks also has 1 year, so then they'll sign Sparks to a backup contract to back up Freddie, who has 2 more years at $5 million. So, the center depth. What has Tavares done? Tavares has really helped with the center depth for the Leafs this season. If you look at their center depth with Kadri, Tavares, and Matthews, that's probably one of the best, if not the best, center depth in the league. You see, Dubas, if I was Kyle Dubas, a lot of people may look and say, yeah, but he didn't really help with the Leafs, and what they needed was their defense. But if you're Kyle Dubas and you have a player like John Tavares that wants to play for your team, you have to sign him. You really do. So, the positive about the salary cap is they have $13.7 million this season, and they only have to sign Nylander, who's going to want anywhere from $6 to $8 million, so they'll have some contracts. They also have some contracts coming up this season, so they'll clear $850 in McElhinney, they'll clear $4 in Gardner, $3 in Hainsey, right, and then they'll be upwards of $15 million. They will also get rid of, hopefully, the Marleau contract. Hopefully they maybe can deal him out. So then next offseason is going to be really interesting because they have to sign Matthews and Marner to long-term deals. So they'll probably want, I bet you Matthews will end up getting near 10 if he has a good season, upwards of the 11 mark. If he has a bad season, downwards of the 9 mark. Marner, he's about 6.5 to 8.5, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, so it's really interesting because now if you can't sign one of these two, you got to trade them. So you're kind of trading one of your one of your big pieces that's done well for you in the past couple of years to try to get Tavares and try to get a D. So they could package maybe one of these guys and a first-round pick for a big-name D, but the trouble is all the D are either signed to long-term contracts or Carlson, who has 1 year left before he becomes unrestricted, And there's a lot of trade rumors right now, and I figure whatever team he gets traded to will probably sign him long-term either this season or in the coming off-season. So I think it's a great move for the Leafs because they got one of the best centers in the league. Since he was drafted, since 2009, 2010, Tavares is 5th in the league in points. That's behind guys like Ovechkin, Malkin, Crosby. So he's up there with the really best players in the game. So I think it's great for the Leafs for this season. It'll be really interesting what Dubas does in next offseason when he's got to sign Marner and Matthews for limited money, and what he does with Nylander this season, and see if he can get one of his big contracts out of there. And, yep, see you next time.